in Pennsylvania and Chicago, the majority of the deaths are contained to nursing home facilities.
Well, I know some of the representatives up there that I read briefly in the paper today that they want to have a full-scale investigation as to see exactly what has caused that. And, you know, the Alabama Army National Guard has created a team to go in. They went in to that facility and decontaminated everything. And but I don't know if other cases have popped up since then. I'm just not sure about all that logistics and how all that has happened.
Well, that's one thing I'm hearing, especially Fox is pushing. Let's get Mike. Let's see if I can get that one.
Yeah, and we had a firefighter tested positive in Montgomery. It was in the lead news article in the Montgomery Advertiser today.
Hello, hold on a second. Is this Michael?
Yes, Michael.
All right, let's see if I can get you all on here, Michael. Let's put you on hold and let's go conference one. And then, all right, I believe I got Mike Amos and Michael Amos. Is that correct?
That's right, Big Mike and Little Mike.
All right.
This morning.
That's Big Mike. Little Mike, how you doing, Little Mike?
Pretty good. How you been doing?
Well, I've been living. It was already surreal, and it got more surreal. You know, when I had to go into self-quarantine after I had my COVID test. So I had been going out a little bit, at least, going to Piggly Wiggly and some fast food restaurants, but that stopped. And for about 10 days, I was just confined to my house while I waited for my COVID test, and it was negative, and I pretty quickly figured it would be negative. I still think that I might have had COVID back in January when I was much sicker and had a bad cough and shortness of breath and lost taste. So this little last bout I had was nothing like that bout I had at the end of January.
Yeah, I told Dad I was surprised how long it took for you to get your results back. I thought that maybe things have sped up a little bit more.
Well, they might have. I told Forrest before you got on the air, Michael, that there seemed to have been some confusion with my name. I'm Bill Rice Jr. My dad was Bill Rice. And then they just could not find my results. I kept calling them saying, what are my results? And finally they called me back and said, oh, we're sorry, we found them, and we had you down as, with your last name as Junior instead of Rice. You know, they...
Junior.
It was
Bill
Junior Rice or something like that. And so they might have, I never asked them, well, when did you have the results, and shouldn't you have called me earlier? But that probably explains the 10 days I had to wait.
So, Dad, where are you this morning? You hiding from everybody in the house down there? Are you on the actual balcony? Where are you?
I'm looking out over the ocean as we speak. It's just simply beautiful this morning, and not a lot of people out there. There's a few people walking, but it's just going to be a beautiful day here at the beach. So some of you folks that want to just get in the car right now and head this way, you have a great day, I promise.
Well, tell us how many people are down there in both Grayton and Panama City Beach.
Well, let's just say that there's no way in the world that 25% occupancy is going on at restaurants down there, because every parking lot you go to is just slam. So I think people think the coronavirus has ended down here on 30A from what I've seen, and I don't know. I don't know if we're going to see a spike in numbers or what's going to happen. I've looked at the cases. The last 3 days have gone down a lot in the United States for its number of cases. So I don't know what's going to happen with the reopening, but it seems like it's business as usual down here.
You know, the cases would seem to be going up anyway just because they're testing so many more people than they ever have as they ramp up the testing. So I don't know if that'll necessarily prove anything. You know, if you're testing 2 times as many people, you're going to get more positive cases.
Yeah, well, I had not a niece, but a cousin who tested positive in Prattville last week. She's a physical therapist, and her patient tested positive, so they tested her. She tested positive, but she's healthy as a horse and no symptoms, but she's got to stay at home. And then before she can return to that facility, she has to take 3 tests 3 days apart. and have 3 negative results. So she's going to be at home for quite a while because she's a care person. But she's healthy as a horse.
You know, I hear a lot of these asymptomatic carriers too. People that have tested positive, but they feel pretty fine.
Yeah. Well, we're rolling at the Pike County Lake. I mean, people are coming in, and now the heat might set it back just a little bit, but the families are coming out with their children, and people are coming out there picnicking. They're getting their hammocks. They're walking around. They're pretty much social distancing.
Yeah.
But the fish are biting well. We're having good-sized shellcracker and bluegill, and the bass, the catfish are great. I mean, some beautiful catfish strings. And
as far as how many are you allowed to keep?
Well, the limit is determined by the state, and that's still a relatively new, young lake since they redid the dam and all. You could keep 6 catfish per person. You could keep 20 brim per person, and you could keep 10 bass per person. But the key is on the bass, they have to be under 14 inches.
Oh.
You may keep one over 20 inches, but anything between 14 and 20 must go back in the lake. And all fish that are taken must be weighed and counted at the weigh station. You just can't put them in your car and go.
Do you do that or somebody else?
We do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the computer set up that's online with the state. Say if Bill comes out there and he doesn't have his license, or he forgot it at home, or he doesn't know where it is, we can go into the database and print you a license for free. But a regular state license in Alabama costs $13.85, and it runs from the 1st of September to the end of August. Then you have to renew it. But to fish our lake each day is $3.75. If you're over 65, it's free. If you're under 11 years and younger, it's free. But anyone between 12 and 64 is $3.75 to fish the lake. But if you're over 16...
And can't you rent boats too? And
you may rent boats. However, that's not a boating lake where you can just rent a boat and just troll around. One person on that boat must have a fishing license.
Okay.
And must have fishing equipment on the boat with life jackets. Now, the other 2 people on the boat, they don't have to have a fishing license, but they can't fish. But if you fish from a boat, you got to have Alabama fishing license.
Man, there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah. So it's...
And then people bring their own boats, I'm sure.
I was riding down the road, Boris, and I said, well, let me go over and go fishing. You would provide me with a cane pole, and I'll have to buy the crickets, but I can be fishing for brim within 5 minutes, 10 minutes of getting there. Is that right?
Well, we don't rent poles. You have to bring your own.
Not rent, but...
Yeah, you can bring...
Do y'all sell them?
We sell cane poles and rod and reels and brim busters and stuff like that. And the launch fee, if you bring your own boat, is $3. You bring your own boat.
So you don't provide the poles. They have to purchase the poles.
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
That's correct.
I went out there before I got my COVID. We've been taking a lot of adventures, family adventures. Our favorite ones are walking through the campus of Troy University. And then we've been to Pike County Lake several times. And, you know, we park and we walk around and explore. And, you know, the kids pretend they're playing cowboys and Indians, and there's bad guys in the woods. And you're right. I went the day y'all were closed, but people were still out there. And a lot of people. And they have their buckets where they put their fish in when they're fishing off the shore. Is that right?
A lot of people do, or put them on a stringer. But, Mike, we also have an archery range. And in order to use that, you must have a fishing or hunting license. Or if you have a child under the age of 16, you can be out there supervising him. But come in the office, sign in, go to the range.
Do a lot of people do that, or many people?
Oh, yes.
I've noticed that, those targets. And the last time I shot a bow and arrow was when I was at Charles Henderson Middle School in Coach Whitman's PE program. They had a great unit on archery. And, you know, I couldn't believe it. I actually got pretty good at it. You know, I would have never thought it. But I was a little Robin Hood back in 8th grade. So I need to get me a bow and arrow, a set, and go out there and use that archery range.
How old you, little girl?
Right.
8 years old.
Yeah, found something that you were good at, man.
That's right.
And I've got shaky hands like Don Knotts on Andy Griffith's show. Just naturally, they've always been that way, so I could never be a surgeon. But that I can't, because of that, I'm not good shooting a pistol or a rifle. My hands, so it was really strange to me that I was pretty good at the archery.
It's funny you say that because I was an All-American gym hockey player for Whitey Whitman's club.
I'll tell you what, I love.
I scored about 7 goals in a game one day.
I love the way he taught me how to set it up. Floor hockey, gym hockey.
What do you? That's not team handball, is it? That's different.
No.
Okay.
But what he showed me is you cordon off your court. You put lines. Of course, we had carpet, and I'd get those Velcro tape. In other words, you couldn't have a ball of 12 kids after one puck. If it came in your area, only those 2 players could play the puck. Mm-hmm. Then if the puck went on the other side of the gym, only those 2 players, the 2 opponents could play the puck. But
I still can't believe Whitey Whitman allowed those 8th grade kids to play dodgeball, a bunch of 6th graders. I saw kids literally crying on the ground getting hit by dodgeballs.
yeah. Well, that has changed. They're real soft.
Oh, everybody loves
you talking about getting hit in the face by an 8th grader with a dodgeball. You talking about kids just literally just getting knocked out almost. It was some of the craziest stuff I've ever seen when I was a little kid.
That was always free day or on Friday that we got to
or
play.
rainy day.
Rainy day, yeah.
Hey, when I interned out there under Phyllis Tompkins.
Yeah, I remember.
Phyllis Tompkins, Steve Miller was there, and of course Coach Whitman.
Steve Miller.
I had a great experience, and I was Miss Phyllis's. I was her intern.
What year would have this been, you think?
Rod McWhorter and Arnold were 8th graders.
Okay, they're a couple years after me. Okay.
But so 6th, 7th, they were in the 8th grade, and I'd play dodgeball every now and then. But if you're the intern, you're like the target. I want to get the intern, and I had to be on my toes to playing against those 2 guys.
I liked throwing the ball, but I was not very good at dodging it. I never even made it close to being the last person.
But that was
you're supposed to try to catch it, and that other person was out. But
right.
A lot of times it was hard to catch. They just get thrown so hard.
Let me tell you this: when we played, we had all these. I was in the 7th grade, and we had to go up against these 9th graders. A lot of them were from the children's home, and you had teams, shirts or skins.
Yeah.
One group was without the T-shirt, and another one had the T-shirt. But those guys threw that dodgeball so hard that you could see the word "hutch" on the
void.
Somebody's back.
That's your void, yeah.
Yeah. So how they did it is the boys would play and then the girls would play, right? Then you play for.
Well, back when, believe it or not, back when I was in school there under Marvin Wiley and his wife were the PE teachers, and the girls and the boys both played together.
Golly,
they tried not to hit the girls as hard as they hit the boys.
The girls were always on one side of the gym and the boys were on the other. And then Phyllis Tompkins, she was a science teacher when I was at Charles Henderson Middle School, so she must have made a change from science teacher to PE coach after I left. But Steve Miller was our football coach. He was Coach Whitman's, underling, the second PE coach.
Yeah. Miss Tompkins, I said something about having a chainsaw, that we had bought a chainsaw and was cutting wood because Mother bought 5 loads of brick from the old Motel of Troy that burnt down and had them put in the yard, and we cleaned brick and finally had our house bricked halfway and cedar up the rest of the way.
And y'all used the Hotel Troy bricks?
To brick our home halfway up.
Yeah, cool.
And so with Mother...
Hey, listen, if you lived in a brick house when I was growing up, you were considered rich.
Well, this was way back after that. For a long time, our house in Goshen had black tarp around it, waiting on the brick.
Oh,
so, but anyway, so I said I had a chainsaw cutting firewood for Mother, and Miss Tompkins said, I got this pine tree I need cutting down. I said, I can cut it down. I looked over at a big old, tall, long pine tree, and, I thought I knew what I was doing.
Oh, my goodness.
There was a fence on one side.
Yep.
The swimming pool was on the other side. I said, I can get it to go right that way.
Oh, okay.
And I got to cutting that tree, and it started leaning the wrong way. I said, I do not want to get or have to face Jim Tompkins if this tree is in his poo or on his fence. So I had to cut the chainsaw off and get my wedge out and pop it to get it to go the right way. And I cranked it up, and that tree fell exactly where I wanted it to. But I was sweating bullets, and
you should have never attempted that.
I will never.
There's an art to that. And then those people, they cut them down from the top down, section by section. But if you can do it, I've paid a guy to remove trees and big limbs. He has his own bucket truck, and he makes a killing. He's got to be the richest guy around. And I mean, he can do 4 or 5 yards worth of trees in a day, and he gets $1,000 every yard he does.
I think they live in Starkville now. They're still in Starkville, the Tompkins.
Yeah, they do. Jim Tompkins and Phyllis, they're very good friends of mine. Jim
So I guess sporting news related, I guess the biggest story out of Tuscaloosa is Tallulah. Tagovailoa is transferring out. He decided that I guess he didn't think he could get playing time with Mac Jones and Bryce Young, the top-rated player in the country, coming in at quarterback. So I guess he'll probably try to get play somewhere down in Florida, because I've heard the family's going to move to Miami to be closer to Tua. So maybe you see him playing at Central Florida or University of Miami, maybe South Florida, maybe FIU. I don't know where Tallulah will end up, but he was a pretty good quarterback when I saw him play in high school.
Very good. I think I've heard the same speculation. That family likes to stay together, so that makes sense.
Well, Tua signed his contract, 4 years, a little over $30 million, with a guaranteed signing bonus of $19.5 million. He's wearing number 1, and that's the highest selling jersey in the National Football League right now.
Hey, yay! I'm pulling so hard for Tua. He was. People say he's injury prone, but he was tough. He got hurt at Alabama, but he played through them and played with injuries. I still question Coach Saban. I know you're not supposed to do that, for putting him back in that Mississippi State game. I'll tell you something else they did that nobody commented on. They put Tallulah, his little brother, in that game and let him kneel down the final 2 plays of the game.
Yeah, burned his red shirt.
And then he played against some small school the next week. That gave him 5 games, and you burned a red shirt for 2 plays where he took a knee. That was not smart.
I should have told you how they thought of it. If they did that, they didn't think very highly of it.
Or they thought he would not be around at Alabama for.
On Alabama.com this morning, I read where the athletic director at the University of Southern Cal said, we have every intention of playing Alabama in Texas on September the 5th in Arlington. And the speculation is, if for some reason they cannot, that Alabama may play TCU, because TCU opens up with a California school. So if that doesn't work out, that Alabama and TCU possibly could play.
Let me tell you what I called Mike about yesterday about that. I'm thinking big. Y'all know I'm an idea man. I think it's very possible that Alabama-USC game is not going to be played. I mean, they're talking about not keeping that lockdown order in L.A. until mid-August. Well, the USC football team can't practice and be ready by September 5th. What if, and then Alabama's stadium might not be ready by September 5th. They are racing the clock to finish that renovation at Bryant-Denny.
Yeah, but they're playing at Jerry World.
Yeah,
I know, but what if the USC game is off and they can't play USC? What if the stadium's not ready for a home game? My proposal is Alabama versus the Troy Trojans on September 5th in Troy. Troy is basically going to let Alabama have half the tickets.
I think he has a fever.
I told you it was bold.
I would say there is a possibility that Troy will not play Arkansas Pine Bluff and maybe get a chance to play a big boy team, a Power 5 team, because of them scrambling to reschedule games. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, but I would imagine Troy would be up the road somewhere to play.
Well, that was a speculation that TCU and Alabama might play in Jerry
here's what
World.
I say about that.
But, North Carolina State comes to Troy September the 19th.
Well, I want to go back to
I believe the same
if
weekend.
USC can't play, then maybe they would substitute TCU. I'll tell you this, if they do it, there's only going to be about 10,000 Alabama fans that go out there with the economy like it is and the fears. And plus, Alabama fans are kind of worn out with these neutral site long games where they got to fly halfway across the country. So Alabama would go to Dallas, maybe have 15,000 fans there. TCU would have most of the fans. I mean, isn't TCU right near Dallas?
Texas.
18 miles from the stadium.
So it'd be really a home game for TCU, and it's a 100,000 seat stadium. The stadium would still probably be half full. Why does Alabama want to go play in that environment when they could play Troy? If they played Troy, that would be big statewide news, huge. If they played them in Troy, that would be even bigger news. And then what I'm proposing is Troy says to Alabama, we're going to make you an offer you can't refuse. We're going to give you half the tickets. Come on, play in Troy. We'll roll out the red carpet. And then in the future, Troy plays a couple of games in Tuscaloosa. Instead of taking this $1 million payout that Kent State and Louisiana Monroe get when Alabama plays them, Troy says, we'll play you for $500,000 or $400,000. Alabama makes a lot more money playing Troy than La Monroe or Kent State. Plus, they know that the stadium will be full if they play Troy or South Alabama.
Alabama was guaranteed $6 million to play it.
Troy, on the kind of Southern News down here, that's the NBC channel. They had a huge deal on Troy and when they would start the school, and they had beautiful coverage. They showed the whole campus from a drone. Evidently showed all the buildings, and it was just a beautiful presentation. And Troy got a lot of exposure. It was on the news at noon and at noon and 6 o'clock and at 10 o'clock.
Well, half the kids that graduate from Troy go to Panama City Beach to start their news career. It seems like there's so many journalism students that start down there. I know your daughter Rebecca Amos was in Panama City Beach as a weather girl. I don't know, 20 years ago.
Yeah, they spent that long ago. But it's good exposure, and they were saying that Troy was going to start school this fall. And it was real fun.
Alabama said that, Troy said that, Auburn said that. I see where Auburn's president says that not only will they start in the fall, they will have football.
We are going to have
football. We will have football in the fall.
Every SEC school is ready to play except Vanderbilt. That's the only school that's iffy right now.
I guess it's going to be a state-by-state basis or city-by-city, so you might have somebody in L.A. that doesn't have a team or starts later, but everybody else.
I'll tell you something else. If you went to a game, Alabama or Auburn game, if they tried to check everybody that went in that stadium, it would take them all day long.
Yeah, you're right.
It would just be a terrible situation.
I mean, if they required you to wear a mask and gloves, and you're a diehard football fan, I guarantee you that you'd wear a mask and gloves.
Yeah, oh yeah. In your school colors.
You know, Alabama's athletic director had an interesting comment. He said he saw a picture of a Georgia Tech football game in 1918. What was 1918? The Spanish flu and World War I. Some teams did not play football in 1918. Some did. Alabama did not play football. Georgia Tech did. But he said he's seen a picture of that game. He says everybody in the stands was wearing a mask. Regular.
Or a handkerchief or something like that.
So there's a precedent for it.
Yeah, I was reading an article that's interesting. I guess maybe, Dad, you'd remember it more than most. Bill, you might remember a little bit. But there was a great article on AL.com about Paul Bear Bryant taking the Miami Dolphins job. Apparently he accepted the job from Joe Robbie and, at the last minute decided to stay in Tuscaloosa, that he couldn't find somebody to replace him that he thought would do a good job. But, that's interesting to think that, Shula gets the job instead of Paul Bryant. And what Bear Bryant would have done in the NFL, of course, the Dolphins go, undefeated a couple years later and win the Super Bowl. But what kind of coach do you think Bryant would have been in the NFL?
run, what is it, 4 yards and a 3
Cloud
yards?
of dust. 3 yards in a cloud of dust.
And dust, is that what they say?
Well, he threw the ball around in the late 60s, so he did both. When we had Scott Hunter, he was not that type of coach.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine Alabama football though if he would have left? I mean, his legacy. I mean, I guess he had already won 3 national championships.
It would not be anything like it is today. I read that article too, Mike. It was a fantastic article, very thorough, and that's one of the points that Ivan Mizell of ESPN made. Is that, well, he got 3 more national championships after 1970. They gave him 6. Saban's chasing right now. His legacy would not be this iconic Mount Rushmore figure if he had gone to the NFL in 1970. And he was going to go.
His top choices to replace him were Darryl Royal, but his top guy he wanted to have, because I guess he coached him at Kentucky, was Charlie McClendon, the LSU's coach.
They speculate that, you're right. Or maybe Beebe Stallings was mentioned, but he had not done too well at Texas A&M. Who knows who they would have ended up with?
Also, John McKay, the great USC coach, was mentioned.
Would mention that the Alabama coach or the Miami coach?
Yeah, Bryant was going to hire the guy.
Yeah, he was athletic director, and I doubt, but yeah, he wanted to go after McKay and the big names, the guy from Oklahoma, but those people wouldn't have come to Alabama. Why would you leave USC? It's got the same tradition and come to Alabama.
Yeah.
But Coach Bryant, it's interesting, Mike, that he told Robbie, the owner of the Dolphins, I'm leaving, I'm coming. He told some of his assistants he was going, and he slept on it and cried and said, I can't go through with it. He told the president he was going. So it was very close, and then he changed his mind, but it was very close to happening.
Wow.
I can't see Coach Bryant crying. I can see a lot of other coaches crying, but I can't visualize him crying.
They said he was an emotional man. He would do it sometimes.
That Coach Bradshaw would.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I had a class under Coach Bradshaw one day, and he would get
taught the class.
theory and technique of football. I took a class under Coach Bradshaw, and sometimes he'd get to talking, and he would actually get emotional, and you'd say, well, this guy is fixing to, he'd be talking about stuff about Alabama Kentucky, and there was this one particular kid wasn't quite paying attention as he should, and he called him up to the front of the room and said, students, I'm going to go over a technique with you. And he'd give him a forearm, knocked him out. But Coach Bradshaw, he was fun to be around, and he was one of those you just couldn't take your eyes off of, just like Chase Riddle.
Yeah.
When he got that talk, he sounded like Bear Bryant. I mean, to me, he was the Bear Bryant of baseball around here. And
he was.
And when those guys talked, you just were just
had a presence. You're right.
Had a presence about
it.
him.
A lot of people, Bradshaw started off at Troy really winning a lot of football games and really having a lot of success. And at the end of his career, he wasn't quite as successful. But a lot of football people around the country would say that Charlie Bradshaw is one of the best fundamental coaches in the country. Teaching blocking and tackling. He was as good as anybody.
But Bill Atkins was pretty good. He was a pretty good.
Well, we've talked about.
Hadn't been around him a whole lot, but
talked about Coach Atkins, and he just changed the whole history of an entire university, in my opinion. If that 1968 national championship team doesn't happen, a lot of things that happened in Troy afterwards don't happen. It's like if the railroad had not come to Troy, a lot of things that happened later would not have happened in Troy.
That's right, no question about it. And we're having a great show this morning. Bill Rice is running the show from our studios on South Grundy Street in Troy, Alabama. And I told the guy here yesterday, watch my show. We're live on Facebook to over 1 billion people. And I'm telling the truth, because Facebook actually has over 2 billion subscribers.
2 billion.
You can actually watch our show on Facebook.
That's only 8 billion people in the world. So you're saying 1 in 4 people in the world have Facebook, which is probably true.
That's what I was told. That is a lot of people, isn't it? 2 billion people.
A little bit Troy related. I saw there again on Alabama.com, might have been CBS Sports or ESPN, but Urban Meyer's son Nate is going to be coaching at Cincinnati next year under Luke Fickell, who was the defense coordinator at Ohio State. And that's his son, and Urban Meyer's son-in-law, Corey Dennis, is going to be the quarterback's coach at Ohio State, and his salary is going to be about $300,000.
Well, that's
what I saw.
That's terrible for a Division I big-time coach. $300,000.
But anyway, this is he's got
Corey Dennis was going to be Ohio State offensive coordinator.
Quarterback's coach.
Quarterback's coach.
Yeah, quarterback's
We
coach.
mentioned that. We mentioned that a while back.
Yeah.
That he was going to be the quarterback coach at Ohio State.
Well, he's got a Troy connection.
Yeah, Corey played at Charles Henderson. His dad is Steve Dennis. He used to be the athletic director.
Yeah, and was a very good quarterback, a good football player.
That's huge, yeah.
Yeah,
I
he
wasn't
coached,
in Troy then. But
yeah, Coach Dennis and Larry Blakeney and all them coached under that. Yeah,
Wow. Oh, awesome. We got to pull for Corey then.
Yeah.
That's right. He's a fine young man.
So how old do you think he is?
He's
26
probably.
probably.
Well, he's making $300,000 at 26. That's pretty good.
But,
I would think he'd be older than 26, wouldn't he? What do y'all think?
he's probably 27, 28.
Yeah.
I don't know. I remember calling his games with you, Dad, on Troy Cable. I mean, it wasn't forever ago.
Played at
I
Georgia
think one
Tech.
of his last games he played against, I reckon it was one of the Mobile schools, and he played quarterback. And no, it was St. Paul's. And of course, St. Paul's won the game, but Corey put on a show. I think he got over 200 yards rushing that day. He was really played.
What did he play at Georgia Tech?
He played on one of Fountain's last teams.
Yeah, he played like a slot receiver at times,
Okay.
I believe.
Well, if he's a coach at Ohio State at this early stage of his career, he'll be a head coach in 14 years.
You know, his daddy coached at Auburn and played at Georgia and was AD at Troy. You know, Corey Dennis is. You're right. If it's who you know that gets you somewhere,
That's right.
He'll go far.
It's like a fraternity at times.
Isn't it just getting in the door at the first right job, and then you can take it from there? It's kind of like Ansley, that was the safety at Troy. He was a graduate assistant at Huntington for Mike Turk, and coached at Huntington for 5 or 6 years, and then somehow he gets one of the coveted grad assistant jobs at Alabama. Everybody wants those jobs. They don't pay anything, but if you get to be a graduate assistant under Nick Saban, you're going to be good.
Yeah,
And then after 2 years as a grad assistant at Alabama, he was a full-time Division I assistant coach, and now he's the defensive coordinator at Tennessee. And one day he might be the head coach at Troy or somewhere else.
He also had a year coaching with Gruden in the Raiders. So Ansley actually went to the Pro Bowl after he left Alabama.
He was a great player at Troy. I remember him. He was slight of build, but he played from the time he was a freshman, and he just had a knack for the ball, finding the ball.
I've got a picture of him as a pure freshman at Nebraska, giving a heads-up tackle at the goal line in a goal line stand that Troy had in that game, and he was a pure freshman out of Tallahassee, Alabama.
Yeah.
And
What else you got there over there in your sheet, Forrest?
I noticed our Cleveland Browns coach has found another job. Did you notice that?
No, tell us.
Yeah, he is going to be coaching for the New York Giants. He's going to be either the quarterback coach but he joins the New York Giants staff.
Freddie Kitchens we're talking about.
Yeah, Freddie Kitchens, yeah.
Well, he's been a Pro Bowl forever, so that makes sense.
He played at Alabama at the same time Damian Craig was the quarterback at Auburn, and boy, he was good. Did we forget about Damian Craig? But he's gone on to have a good college coaching career, I think.
Yeah. There was was a moment in that game that gave college football reason to go to the to video plays, on every game. Every play is videoed, and there was a picture in the Birmingham News or all across the country the next day where Alabama guy had his foot inbounds on the last play of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It would have given them a victory over Auburn. And
it wasn't the last play of the game. It was. I was at the game. It was the last series. Alabama had the ball. It was a touchdown to Curtis Alexander in the end zone. That was obviously a touchdown. They didn't give it to him.
And the next year they started videoing every play.
When I watched it live, I didn't even think he was inbounds. But then I saw that same picture y'all were talking about, and it seems to show that he has the ball in his hand and at least 1 foot inbounds.
It was obvious, and the next year they started bringing in instant replay.
What would have happened if they had that when Preston Gothard caught that ball against Penn State?
Yeah.
Or he juggled it first. If he hadn't have juggled it, it would have been a moot point, but he still called it.
It was obvious. Let me tell you, Michael's still crying over that game. We watched that game, and then we went to a Troy game after that game was over, and I couldn't keep him from crying because he was so upset that Alabama lost that game.
Yeah, Freddie had no luck at Auburn because he's also the quarterback that nobody ever remember this, but the Tucker kid from Fayette. I know this because my wife's family's from Fayette, and her first cousin Sam Collins played at Alabama, and so Lance Tucker's starting the quarterback at Auburn, and nobody thought he was going to start, so they bring in Freddie, and that's the famous game where he threw the screen pass to Ed Sissom late in the game when all Alabama had to do with the Bows is run the clock out, and they throws the screen pass to Sissom. Sissom gets hit by Houston of Auburn and fumbles, and then Auburn lines up, kicks the field goal, and wins the game. And that, of course, Bruce Arians is offense coordinator, and had great success now in the pros. He's head coach of Tampa Bay Bucks right now. But that's another game that Kitchens probably should have won in Auburn.
Yeah, he always played good against. He never played particularly well or consistently throughout his career. But whenever he played Auburn, he always looked really good. And for most of that game, he looked really good. Well,
did he go to high school at Gadsden?
That wasn't his fault. He didn't call the play.
Is he from Gadsden?
I think he is from
Gene
Gadsden.
Jelks, is he from there too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
there.
He went to Etowah,
Etowah, yeah.
he's also famous playing on Alabama's baseball team when Troy beat number 2 Alabama in baseball. A buddy of mine was heckling him in the outfield. He was warming up, and maybe possibly going into the game against Troy. And Kitchens got pretty upset about it and hit the fence and broke my buddy's nose. Of course, that was one of the bigger moments in Troy baseball history is when Troy beat number 2 Alabama that night. That was the craziest crowd ever.
They stopped playing them for over 10
Yeah.
years.
I don't think Alabama liked that some of the treatment they got. That might be why Alabama says we ain't coming to Troy, Bill Rice, and play Troy to open the season because we remember that baseball game.
With our
Speaking of baseball, one of the best coaches nobody ever talks about in the state of Alabama is retired Brian Shoup. He was a unbelievable coach at Birmingham Southern and has coached 14 years at UAB. Has decided to call it quits after 40 years of coaching baseball. He went over 1,000 games, but he had Troy's number for several years at UAB, and of course, he had his top assistant that would drive over from Starkville, Mississippi, who a lot of people consider one of the more legendary coaches of all time, Ron Polk, would drive over to Birmingham for every game and sit on the bench with Shoup, who played for him at Mississippi State.
Right. Shoup was a good coach. He coached at Birmingham Southern also, and he was just an excellent coach.
Yeah, Birmingham Southern, he won two conference championships in a row and went to the NCAA tournament. Then they gave up Division I athletics.
That's right. A lot going on as far as everybody's concerned about college football, and of course the death toll right now nationwide is 84,136. So getting more
Okay, we will be right back in 2 minutes for more of Today in LA.
At the Piggly Wiggly, we proudly support our local farmers and bring you the best they have to offer, all at cost plus 10%. When you shop local, you reinvest in your community. Remember, buy local, shop local. Piggly Wiggly, local since forever.
A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa Know-How. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa Know-How team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store in Pike County, and we're fully stocked and ready to serve you. We pride ourselves on being your go-to parts store, not only for the simple items, but we specialize in those hard-to-find items as well. Trojan Auto Parts, the right part at the right price at the right time. Napa, a name you've trusted here in Troy since 1945.
Have you seen an increase in your insurance premiums or significant change in your insurance coverage? Let Sandbeck Insurance offer you a better plan to suit your business or personal needs. Sandbeck Insurance offers many lines of insurance, whether it's home, farm, or auto insurance, work comp, business, or health and life policies. Sandbeck is here for you. Call or visit our Troy, Enterprise, or Andalusia office today. Sandbeck Insurance, where we take pride in taking care of your insurance needs.
All right, we're back on Today in LA. We've had a little sabbatical. I've had a COVID test, but it was negative. I'm back in the saddle. Big Mike Amos is back in the saddle at Panama City Beach. Little Mike Amos is in the saddle at Grayton Beach, and then Forrest Lee is in the saddle here at Troy Cable Studios.
Bill, I want to congratulate you, my friend, on your article that's going nationwide. Tell us about it.
I did a feature story on Griff McCrary, outstanding young golfer that was in Charles Henderson's graduating class that'll graduate May 21st. And Griff is signed to play at Wallace Community College in Haneyville up near Coleman. But the story with Griff is he has battled severe Tourette syndrome all his life, and OCD and hyperactive disorder, had a lot of disabilities and incredible challenges, and he's overcome them to get to this point. So I've told the story of Griff growing up and his parents, Colin and Connie McCrary, caring for Griff, and I always thought it was an amazing potential national story. So I wrote it, interviewed 14 people, real long, in-depth story, and Golf Magazine is going to run the story next week. So it's not going to be in their print edition. It's going to be a big spread on their online edition, golf.com. Dan Smith, our Parks and Recreation Department director, who is a fantastic photographer, he took the pictures. So thank you, Mike. And Mike, I think you even recommended to Colin that I tell this story. So I thank you for giving me the privilege.
Well, I tell you what, Bill, you are a talent, and everybody that knows you knows that you're a talent, especially when you're writing stories. And of course, I go all the way back when you had the newspaper in Troy. And I remember one article you wrote about Troy going to Division 1A, and it meant, and I've showed it to several people since, that you were right on the ball on that thing.
You know, when you write as many columns as I have, and you've written a lot too, Mike, that sometimes you do say, well, will this hold up if you reread it 25 or 30 years in the future? Would it look stupid? But I do remember that column, and you know, I was one of the people like you and Mr. Beard and that said, yeah, this is a smart move. It's a bold move, but all the things that people say, the bad things that people say are going to happen aren't going to happen, and a lot of good things are going to happen, and that has turned out to be the case.
You got to take a leap in the dark.
Yeah.
It was a move to enhance the growth of the university.
That's right.
And the community, and it's done both it would have not grown if we weren't 1A in football.
It was, like you said, Mike, it was a branding image move for the whole town and university, more so than just football.
Some people don't realize this. Troy is one of only 128 teams in the entire nation that is Division 1A football. We're the same classification as Alabama.
And all sports fans in America, college sports fans, know who Troy University is today.
That's right.
Will that number drop significantly after this COVID-19, you think?
Ooh, good. Powerful. I would say if the economy, in large part because of the reaction to COVID, does go into a prolonged recession, some people are saying it might be a depression, that could happen for us because it's going to stress budgets, especially of the smaller schools that are already losing money.
It may have to realign. I don't know. It's
5-10 years from now, let's see. It could be.
You might see a lot of these schools having to charter buses with the fuel prices down so much instead of being on planes, because I think Troy University charters planes, but I don't know if every school in the Sun Belt would charter to games. I don't know how that would work, but I was thinking back to the team that really, the athletic teams that really suffered when we went Division I, as far as in athletics was basketball. Maestri and Felix had that 7-year clause they had to go through before they could even compete in the NCAA tournament. And I'll never forget, Troy playing in the East Coast Basketball League or the East Coast Conference. I think baseball played in the East Coast Conference. It took forever for Troy to get in some, regional conferences.
That's a good point.
That was really rough. That was really rough on basketball because he had some great basketball teams that couldn't, go to the NCAA tournament.
And they always competed and did pretty well. And you're right; these conferences were completely obscure and thousands of miles away. And so it's a tremendous credit to Coach Maestri and Felix.
Loyola Chicago went to the Final Four, 3 or 4 years ago. Troy used to play in the same conference with them. They played them, and they play Chicago State. I mean, these are some of the teams that little Troy, Alabama would play.
And Loyola of Chicago, and then also that school that was so good out of Indiana, Mike.
Valparaiso. Yeah.
The Drews.
And then the other thing is Troy was playing in an arena that really was not much more than a high school arena for some programs. As much as I love Sartain Hall.
And of course you had Wright State, you had Pace University of New York with one of. You had. I went to Buffalo, New York, to watch Troy play.
They played in the NIT against Niagara.
That's right. I went to that game, and when we got off the plane, there was 17 inches of snow in Buffalo that day. It was unreal.
The Buffalo.
I don't understand. We ended up getting the Trans-American Conference, which became the Atlantic Sun, but it took a while for us to get into more of a regional conference. When we first started, we just had to get it into any conference we could, and then in football, when we first started, we were an independent. Yeah.
That football was good from the beginning with Coach Blakeney. I mean, his first year might have been about 6-5, 5-6.
Well, he beat Mississippi State the first year of Division I, and that changed everything.
Yeah, and then those 1AA teams that he had for about 5 or 6 years in a row were competing for. They never won a national championship, but they were a top 4, top 8 program every single year.
But we had a great quarterback on that team, and they had a great running back on that team that beat Mississippi State at their homecoming that year. And of course,
you had Broughton Nutter and you had DeMontre Carter.
Yeah, and they were both great.
Well, what are the big wins Troy's had? They beat Mississippi State. They beat Missouri at home. They beat Marshall at home was a big deal. I remember when they went up and beat Cincinnati. Should have beat LSU.
That over there when they beat Marshall at Marshall, that was a huge win.
That's right. Yeah, they beat them twice up there. Nobody's ever done that. Back with Marshall was really good. And I'll tell you another.
I mean, LSU is by far the biggest win ever there at LSU. That LSU team almost won 10 games.
Yeah, we beat Oklahoma State like a yard dog.
Oh, yeah.
We could have scored 60 on them, and that was played in Troy. That was a great game.
That was the week before the Oklahoma State coach had his famous meltdown.
Yeah, that's right.
Getting on his player.
Hey, I'm a man.
Yeah.
He's famous for that. And also, I'll tell you something else, too. When they played Troy in Troy, they wanted a place to go that was indoors so they could warm up for the game or the day before the game. So they asked Charles Henderson High School if they could use their indoor facility to practice on Friday before the game. And I don't know if they paid Charles Henderson or not, but I know this, that I've never seen a coach get so upset in my life, a high school coach, than our coach was when the Oklahoma State coach said, you have to clear the room, you have to clear the room. And he was telling our coach that he would have to leave his own facility. I remember that.
Oh, gosh.
Well, that's more of a weight room now. It's full of weights.
Really?
I know.
It's got weights on both sides.
Do they practice in there?
They may do a little bit, but not.
Oh, yeah, Oklahoma State, the team practice in there,
I'm talking about in today's time, they got a lot of weights in there. You can't spread out quite as much as you could because you got weight racks on both sides.
I remember when Ray Perkins came to Alabama, succeeded Coach Bryant, and Alabama's facilities weren't that great, and he built an indoor football practice field for the team before a lot of teams had them, a 100-yard field. And I remember at the time thinking that Alabama rarely practiced in it, except if it was a real bad storm. And I said, well, is this really worth it? But then you look back now over the 30 years and all the times they've ended up using it, it was a fantastic investment. And at one time it had some tennis courts in there, and they finally got rid of those and added to the length of the football practice field.
Yeah. Well, Troy,
have any of y'all been watching the Michael Jordan The Last Dance? I haven't been able to watch it.
Yeah, some of them, a couple of them.
Not all of them.
I was reading on ESPN the other day. They ranked the top 74 players ever all time in NBA history. And of course, Michael Jordan's number 1, LeBron's number 2. But some of these other names, I was kind of surprised that were as high as they were. And then some of the names I thought would be lower. After LeBron, you got Kareem. A lot of people consider Kareem probably the greatest of all time. He's number 3 on the list. And then after that, you got Bill Russell, that played for the Celtics. He won so many championships. He's number 4. Then number 5 is a guy that I could still consider one of the best of all time. He could be easily in the top 3. It's Magic Johnson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I put definitely have him in the top 5.
I didn't get to watch him play. Dad, you might remember Wilt Chamberlain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Wilton Norman.
I remember him well.
He scored 100 points in one game, and not only that season, I've researched this, he averaged 52 points a game.
Never fouled out.
And this guy was one of my favorite players when I was young, was Larry Bird. He was number 7 on the list of top NBA players of all time. And then this guy, I always respected because I watched him play a lot with Robert Horry playing with him and the Spurs, is Tim Duncan was number 8.
Oh, that's
a little high for Duncan.
Yeah, me too.
Because there's no way you could put Duncan ahead of Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant's number 9 on the list, and then Shaquille O'Neal, who won the championships with Kobe with the Lakers. Shaquille O'Neal's number 10. So that's your top 10 players of all time.
Where's Elgin Baylor and Oscar Robertson?
Yeah, right.
It was a great one.
I saw where the Georgetown has one of their players is in the transfer portal. He was going to go pro.
Yeah.
But they've got this clause with COVID now that you can come out of the draft. McClung, he's one of their leading scorers. He's transferring out of Georgetown.
Transfer to Auburn, Alabama, or Troy.
A guard, yeah.
That Georgetown program, used to be one of the top programs in the nation. And once their coach stopped coaching, they went down, never came back.
John Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
I've been watching a lot of these ESPN documentaries, Little Mike, and I watched the fascinating one the other night on the Detroit Pistons, the Bad Boys. They sometimes get forgotten how good those teams were. They won a couple of titles, but even before they won titles, they were right on the doorstep, almost beating the Lakers. And that was Isaiah Thomas was a fantastic player. And then a young Dennis Rodman, Bill Laimbeer, Joe Dumars.
Right. Can you believe they'd have Rodman and Laimbeer on the same team? Two real tough guys,
Chuck Daly was their coach. Oh, those were fantastic teams.
You could be a lot more physical back in the old NBA. There was a lot of fouling, and you could get away with hand checking.
Joe Dumars
Throughout the league has been. Some people call him dirty. I think he just played hard. 6'11", he was a giant guy.
Rodman has a fascinating story. He graduated from high school, never played high school basketball. I think he went out one year and didn't make the team. He was 5'9" when he graduated, or 5'10" when he graduated from high school.
Yeah, he was homeless, walking the streets.
Yeah, homeless. He worked at the airport for a while, and then in 1 year, sometime after he graduated from high school, he grew 9 inches in 1 year. And he eventually got to 6'7", 6'8". 3 or 4 years after high school, some NAIA coach at some obscure Oklahoma team saw him. He started playing a lot of pickup basketball and had to really convince him to come play with him. And he was a man almost from day one at this NAIA school. Played for 4 years, and then he got drafted in the second round by the Pistons. But he was 26 years old or 27 years old when he got drafted.
I like the way he runs. He runs like a deer. I mean, he's got a bounce to
a great player. He played at Portland. They won a a world championship at Portland. Y'all remember that? And he shot his free throws like the old what they call granny style.
Yeah, like Rick Barry did it.
Bob Cousy.
Rick Barry, that's exactly the
Bob
name.
Cousy did it too.
Let me tell you this: Rick Barry was a great player.
He was.
He was.
Calvin Murphy.
He might be in my top 10.
Well, I mean, Jerry West is the logo. He's the NBA logo.
Yeah.
That's right. But if you think about every team Rick Barry played on, they won, and he was a great player. Really was.
And
of course, the guy named Bob Pettit. When I grew up, he was by far my favorite player. Named Bob Pettit. He played at college at LSU, but he played for the St. Louis Hawks. They won an NBA title, and when I was playing basketball in my backyard, that's who I was with Bob Pettit.
Jerry West came out and said that if they wanted to change the silhouette to Kobe Bryant, that he would be all for it because it's time for a change.
Yeah. Jerry West is the one that went to bat to sign Kobe Bryant. I just read Kobe Bryant's biography. And, Kobe Bryant, at his best, he was, to me, the player that most approached Michael Jordan's game. They were very, very similar. They could both take it to the basket anytime they wanted to, buddy.
Oh, yeah, I lost it, too.
Yeah, he did.
Hey, y'all, I mean, this is huge news. Mark Emmert came out, which I'm not a big Mark Emmert fan. He's the president of the NCAA, and he's basically said that he does not control when universities decide to start practicing.
He doesn't.
There's no NCAA mandate, so Alabama can start practicing, the 1st of June. And, some of these other, colleges throughout the country where the coronavirus is more prevalent, might not be able to practice until August. So that could be a huge advantage, for some of these other schools. I'm shocked that the NCAA doesn't have more of a role in telling these schools when they can start up.
NCAA controls basketball, but they don't control football as much as everybody thinks. They're not the sanctioning body. It's the conferences themselves that set.
ESPN controls college football.
Yes, I agree with that.
It's not just ESPN, CBS. I mean, there's huge contracts, television contracts. That's what nobody's looking at right now, which I think is insane. Is even if they didn't play with fans, these television contracts are through the roof. You think these universities are going to pass up that money?
Oh yeah.
Well, they're going to go under if they pass up that money, Mike.
It is exactly right. Each team got $45 billion last year. Each SEC team. They can't. Hey, without that kind of revenue, a lot of them
watching those games. That's how bad people need sports right now in their lives.
Yeah,
I would say they draw 10 million people to watch these games on ESPN right now in the Sun Belt Conference.
Yeah.
And then you got all your bettors and stuff out in Vegas. I mean, they're betting on UFC fights right now. NASCAR starts back this weekend.
Oh,
I mean, it's just one of those type of things. You know, the country really needs sports.
Is
now.
NASCAR going to be run their races in front of empty crowds, or how are they going to do it?
Empty crowds, yeah. I'm not a NASCAR guy, but I've been reading about them starting back up. Maybe we can get Joel Amos on the phone. He knows NASCAR.
Well, I tell you this, Johnny Williams has a game coming up in August. It's supposed to be the first actual football game played in the year. But it's a 1AA team. I'm trying to think of the.
In Montgomery?
Yeah, they're gonna play. They're gonna play in Montgomery. Yeah.
That'll be high interest for that game if it's the first one.
It's not a 1A group.
Yeah.
It's a 1AA game, and should be. And we'll have him on the air next week and get his opinion of what's going to happen.
Well, I have, getting back to Little Mike's point, that colleges are kind of free to do whatever they or their conferences say they need to do to get ready for the season. Saban has been proposing a little like NFL-style mini camp right before the practice proper starts, in July. Maybe no hitting, but let them run through drills for a week or two, which I could see that happening. Then the question I still have is how in shape are these kids really in when they've been away from their strength and conditioning coaches for 3 months now? Have they been running really and staying in shape? Back in the day, players used to go home for the summer, and I guess they did stay in shape. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, the kids that are at a disadvantage are the kids that didn't enroll in January, out of high school. Most of these kids now, the big time recruits are on campus, even sometimes when the bowl game's going on. But these kids that report in August, they're going to be way behind this year. Yeah.
That's why Jones is going to be there for the starter.
Mike knows this, that I'm one of these advocates of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade every Thanksgiving. That's just part of growing up, whatever, and I've always enjoyed it. Somebody told me that Macy's was going under. Have you heard that?
Yeah, all the retailers are
JCPenney.
They're either on the verge of bankruptcy or already declared it. Like Forrest said, JCPenney
they're going to close 200 of their 850 stores.
But they've declared bankruptcy. Tough times for the big box store retailers. This was even happening before COVID-19, but it's just made it worse.
But where did I hear? Maybe I was wrong about them actually going bankrupt, but I've heard that. Did you tell me that, Mike, or where did I get that?
I didn't say. I don't know where you heard that one.
I don't think they've officially announced it, but it's expected that JCPenney's will.
JCPenney was in the paper today.
They have?
JCPenney. I don't know about Macy, but JCPenney's closing 200 of their 850 stores. And they got their start in 1902 in Wyoming. JCPenney did. But
Must have been a man named JCPenney, is that right?
I'll tell you something else that'll surprise you. That Andalusia, Alabama has a JCPenney store. Did y'all know that?
Yeah, I see it every time I'm heading back to Birmingham.
For years, and they had a JCPenney. I don't know how they got it, but a little town. They're probably the smallest town in the country that's got a penny.
I bet you're right.
Or had a penny.
I think I read that Alabama has 15 JCPenney stores. How many of those are going to close? I don't know.
Well, there's one. I still think there's one at Eastdale Mall. Is that right?
East Chase, maybe?
Years ago.
What would you rather have, though, man? A J.C. Penney's or a T.J. Maxx? Choice about have a T.J. Maxx.
Well, let me tell you this, how far this goes back. At one time, Troy, Alabama was a hub for thrifty stores. Have y'all ever heard of thrifty stores?
Yeah, I've heard of them, but tell me more.
It was downtown Troy, and it was called thrifty stores, and there was a thrifty stores in Troy. There's one in Andalusia, one in Evergreen, one in Sylacauga, one in Wetumpka. There was thrifty stores.
Well, tell me this, Mike. What was Elmore's Five and Dime? Was that locally owned or?
No, that was a chain too.
Okay.
Elmore's was a chain, and we had one in Troy, and it was
One in Luverne?
Elmore's Five and Dime location.
Whatever happened to Bargain Town? Bargain Town was a chain, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
USA.
Yeah, and
Bargain Town, Fred's. Every time I go through Georgiana's got a Fred's.
You had a Kmart. Do we still have Kmart?
and Britt didn't make it in Troy. That's hard to believe.
TG&Y.
TG&Y, Gaylords.
TG&Y didn't make it other than Troy. I never remember any other town having a TG&Y.
You had Big K and Kmart. I got them confused, but I think Troy had both of them, Big K and Kmart.
Oh, yeah. TG&Y was a chain. That was a big chain, and later on it became. It might have actually become. Let's see. There was TG&Y, and then there was Walmart one.
Well, there's Walmart just kind of changed the whole world.
I still can't believe in Troy, Alabama, that the old Country's Barbecue building is just still sitting there, and nobody has gone in and made that a restaurant. That always puzzles me.
Evidently, somebody's trying to make a bunch of money because that is a great site. You're exactly right. That catches everybody that's turning right to go through Enterprise to the beach. The beach has several great ways to go, and I go through Elba, through Sampson, through
Ponce de Leon.
Ponce de Leon, and down that way, and have wonderful roads and so forth. But a lot of people now, like you, Mike, when you were living in Birmingham, you went through Andalusia, didn't you?
Yeah, I'd go 65 to Georgiana exit, and then on Georgiana, I'd get on 55, which is 4-lane, and go about 75, 80, and go through Andalusia, then you go through Andalusia, you go through Florala, and then you come out to Feniac, and then once you get to Feniac, Springs, it's 4-lane as well.
Yeah. Of course, 84 that goes through Elba now, that goes to Enterprise, 84 is going to stretch all the way across Alabama for long, to the south.
You talk about that Country's Barbecue. It has been empty for years.
Many moons.
I remember back when I did a big story about the history of Highway 231 and the importance it has on Troy. I dug real deep into the traffic counts, the Highway Department traffic counts, and that is the highest traffic count, not only in Troy, but in one of the highest in South Alabama there at 231 and 87, right. 167.
But if you look...
At one time, over 30,000 cars.
Yeah, it'd be more than that now. I guarantee you, every day is well more than 30,000 probably go by there.
But the best food in Troy...
when we were growing up in Troy, I always thought the nicer Piggly Wiggly was in that shopping center. That Piggly Wiggly there was nice.
Yeah.
I remember growing up because that's where all the country club, moms and dads
the
would go.
Piggly Wiggly we got now is nice. I shop Piggly Wiggly regularly. That's a great place to shop.
But
we got two of them.
I always wonder why they got rid of the Piggly Wiggly in that shopping center.
Yeah, they had a drugstore right next to it too. What that was, Harco or?
Yeah.
I remember Harco. Harco was out of Tuscaloosa.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know that?
Yeah.
The courthouse opens on Monday, and the farmers market by Troy Baker Trust will be open this Saturday from 7 to 11. But all customers and vendors must wear a mask.
Hey, tell us about the graduation dates of Charles Henderson and Pike Liberal Arts.
Okay.
Charles Henderson's graduating plans were changed, I think, and have been updated. And I like what they're doing now.
All right, for Charles Henderson graduation, it will be on, scroll down,
May
the 21st at 10 o'clock in the morning at Veterans Memorial Stadium on the campus of Troy University. There will be, each graduate will have 5 guest tickets. And according to the interim superintendent, Cynthia Thomas, it will be strictly enforced. So on May 21st at 10 a.m., Charles Henderson High School will have their graduation. Pike Liberal Arts has 36 graduates. Their graduation will be on June the 4th at at 7 p.m. at Pike Liberal Arts Football Stadium. Goshen High School graduation, I'm trying to find it.
Dustin says it's June 6th. Pike Liberal Arts is June 6th.
They changed it to June 6th.
I called them yesterday. They told me June 6th at 7 p.m.
Okay.
Well, we got
Let's
some
go to
question.
the-
Well, let's confirm that.
I'm just reading this on the TroyMessenger.com that was updated this morning. So what?
The great Davis Allen is signed to play baseball at Shelton State, Tuscaloosa.
That's good.
Hey, good. Congratulations, Davis. That's outstanding. But so the graduation sounds like they're going to be in the football stadiums, which makes perfect sense to me because if everybody's still worried about social distancing, you can spread out plenty of people in a football stadium.
Just call the schools, Goshen and Pike County High, and Pike Liberal Arts to double check them their times and all. And I just read this update this morning could change, but
Well, I think it's great that they're doing it. I'm so glad they're putting this together. I am surprised that Pike Liberal waited all the way till September.
no, it's in June.
It's either June 4th or June 6th. We've got.
Excuse me, June 6th. I'm sorry. That's not your fault.
But you got to remember, Dad, there's no beach week anymore. Beach week's already happened for a lot of people.
That's right.
No, think of all the things these seniors missed. They missed their spring season of sports, their proms, all their graduation parties. It's just been a tough break for the class of 2020.
You know who's hurting so badly now is these boats, these big boats. Nobody getting on those things now.
About cruise lines?
Getting wrapped. Yeah, cruise liners.
And the airlines. You're talking about bankruptcy.
What about casinos? You don't think casinos are hurting?
Yeah.
Everybody
Oh yeah,
is hurting.
well, they hurt quite a bit. You're right.
Well, at least I think I can go get a haircut now. You notice I'm still wearing a baseball hat. That's because I haven't gotten my hair cut in about a year.
I need one too. I need a haircut.
I'll tell you what, our little girls are about to finish their second week of preschool, and then I talked to a buddy of mine yesterday in Mountain Brook, and he said the preschools are going to open back up next week for them. So, that's been great for my wife and I to have our kids back in school.
Well, some of these private schools and daycares got these loans that are forgivable that helped them, but some didn't. And so a lot of these small private schools and daycares have really been hurting. Had to lay off employees probably. Maybe they'll come back.
Is this that they're working on now a $4 trillion deal? This next deal that they're trying to get through. What's the
I heard that the Democrats are pushing a $3 trillion deal. That's on top of the 6 or 7 or 10 trillion that we've already done.
Somebody tell me as long as we make our own money that we're gonna be all right.
That's me. Isn't it nice to have a tree that grows money?
I know it. All they do is they run out of money, they just print more.
That is what they're doing. It's hard to believe, but America does not have $10 trillion sitting in a bank account for a rainy day fund. They are printing this money out of nothing.
Yeah. All right, now let me tell you this. You know who's going to be really, really, really hurting is our colleges and our universities. I'm thinking they're going to be hurt tremendously.
I do too, Mike. What about the international students and the Chinese students?
See the numbers though. How many people are going to go to school in the fall? How many will actually go to campus and how many will take classes online?
That's right.
Then that affects apartments,
food,
Everything.
everything.
Schools in the nation as far as having that type of computer, having the classes on computers.
That's good, but the Troy businesses, they want these students on campus, and
I know they do.
and so you're right. It might be 20% less than normal. I have heard that Troy has 700 Chinese students. Maybe it's a little less. But the relations with China now are at the worst they've been in my lifetime almost. Will all these students be back? All these 700 students? That's 10% of the campus.
So that's that 1-2-1 program. I wonder if there's going, it's a lot going on out there. I wonder if those students will still be on campus.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could enroll in the fall, and then I guess probably the number of our students in classes will probably be a lot less. But then if they have a vaccine by January, maybe your winter classes will be back to normal.
Yeah, distance learning is the wording I need to use about Troy. They're one of the leaders, and were from the beginning promoting distance learning. How if you were in Vietnam or you were in harm's way somewhere, there were people taking a course from Troy in a box. So that was a joke, but it was actually a reality.
I want people on the most beautiful campus in Alabama, and I think it is the most beautiful campus in Alabama. Alabama's main drag with the quad and Denny Chimes is pretty, but the rest of the campus, there's nothing spectacular about it. Auburn is got pretty buildings, but it's designed real haphazardly. And
Auburn's pretty much Sanford Hall. That's about it.
Yeah, then, Sanford University is pretty in the hills, but it's not as spread out as Troy's. Got about 6 or 7 spots of beauty on the campus, and it's kind of spread out. A lot of green, big trees, rolling hills, and they keep developing new areas you never thought they would, like across from the President's Mansion. They are getting that area near the lagoon pretty, and I wish people would quit littering. I'm walking through there, and you got this beautiful area, and you see this dang trash on the side of the road or sidewalk. That infuriates me.
What about, does Troy still have the Arboretum? I remember going there, for insect projects and leaf projects and stuff like that when I was a kid.
Yeah. It probably needs updating.
I don't know for sure. I think they do. I think they still have it.
They do.
It's right off of, it's actually on campus.
It's off like the fraternity drive, isn't it?
Yes.
I bet they end up doing something with that land, and making it even prettier.
It was pretty. There was a pond back there too. I don't know who owned the pond. Maybe the university owned the pond.
I bet they do.
Well, there's a pond behind the tennis courts that was built for the children's home. There's a pond back there. Remember when you tee off that big par 5?
Yeah, there is.
There's a pond behind the tennis courts that needs cleaning up. Well, it did a few years ago when I was teaching at middle school, but it's almost crystal clear.
Mike, you remember that walk from the road where the President's Mansion is down to the lagoon? There used to be a swimming pool at Troy University down in there.
I swam there with
the
Mother
outdoor
worked.
swimming pool.
I swam there as a kid. Mother worked in housing for Arthur Coker. I swam in that pool.
When I moved back to Troy, it was still there. It wasn't being used, but yeah, that's where they're trying to beautify now. But I guess that was the campus swimming pool or one of them, because there's also a swimming pool at the children's home, but that wasn't part of the Troy campus then.
There's no Olympic-sized pool. Is Lee Natatorium, that's going away, isn't it?
Well, I thought they were going to raise it already by now, but it's going to be torn down. I don't know if they've done it yet.
But there will not be an Olympic-sized pool on the campus of Troy University anymore.
They've got a nice pool at the new rec center.
But isn't it like a wading pool? It's not.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. No.
I think this weekend or today or whatever, a good idea for Bill Rice, gas the car up or truck and take your kids down as many dirt roads you can today. Dirt road weekend. Hit the dirt roads.
Why are we going to hit the dirt?
Just to explore dirt roads.
Yeah.
There's a lot of beauty on these dirt roads here in Pike County, Crenshaw County, and surrounding counties. I grew up on a dirt road.
Yeah.
Why don't you take them out? Why don't you take them down to Clo and put them in that cold water down there?
Yeah,
What is
you
it, Blue
go.
Springs?
Blue Springs, just past Clo.
That would be a good thing to do. Sometimes, and another thing some people like to do is take tours of cemeteries. You ever just walk through old cemeteries and church cemeteries?
Beulah, I mean, there's several.
You can learn a lot of history looking at the grave markers on the cemeteries, and a lot of them are real pretty.
There's take them to every.
Dad, have you had Thomas's Donut Shop this morning?
He must.
Did we lose Big Mike?
He must be gazing out over the Gulf of Mexico.
I hope he didn't fall off the balcony.
I'm ready for some birds bacon.
Hey, give us an update on your famous restaurant and bar that's right near you, Michael. Is it about finished?
The Red Bar. We walked by there the other day. It looks like it's gonna be opening in June. Basically, they're just doing everything inside now as far as work. Structurally, it looks just like the same, Red Bar that burned to the ground. It's pretty amazing that the wildfires down here almost burned Louie, their other restaurant, to the ground. Barely missed it. So they caught a break there, but it's crazy down here at the beach. I don't know if you've seen pictures on Facebook. I posted a few, but the water's like Bahamas down here right now. It's just been crystal clear. And I will say on Mother's Day, we had one of the more crazier experiences I've had since living down here. I guess we've been living over here over 14 months now, and we had the girls out on the beach, and there's a lake that flows usually into the Gulf of Mexico. It's called Eastern Lake or Western Lake, and we were over there trying to find some crabs for the girls, and it's just basically like 30 yards from the beach. So then we started walking back to the beach where our truck is, and I see a fisherman out there. It's about 9 in the morning. We always get the girls out there earlier, and he's got his camera out, video something. I see a big, just long, black-looking fish in the water, and we get closer and closer. I'm like, oh my goodness, that's a shark. It was a 6-foot shark swimming probably 10 feet out in this crystal clear water. It's one of the more beautiful things I've seen, like a shark that up close on the beach. And then I followed it on down the beach, and Graydon was telling other people about it. Everybody else got their cameras out and was filming it. And I mean, it was at least 6 foot. No telling how much it weighed. Still not 100% sure if it was a bull shark or a sand shark or a black tip shark or what it was, but that was something to see. My girls, I think now, are going to be a little bit scared to get in the water for a while, but it was pretty awesome to see that on the beach right in front of your face.
Oh yeah, a bull shark will attack people, won't it?
Yeah, a bull shark's like almost a great white. I mean, it's a very dangerous shark to say the least. But I mean, it was calm, and not a lot of people were out there, and it was everybody always says they're everywhere out there, but this one was in very shallow water. Mother's Day, for Sundays. So
I saw a footage. I think we showed it on Troy Cable one time of beaches near you. You might have been the one that alerted us to it.
I was. Yeah, when they had 60 sharks out there. At the
Yeah, they have some drone or something that's just flying, giving a beach video shot every morning. And one morning it was flying over, and it said, "Well, there's a shark." And then they panned out. There's another shark, and then there were 100 or 60 sharks out there within, I would say, 100 yards from the beach.
Oh, you need to get Steve. He posted something on Facebook at Crab Island, which is, in between Destin and Fort Walton Beach. And there was like 4 huge hammerheads, probably 8 feet each. Wow. In that shallow water of Crab Island that they showed on video. So sharks are definitely out and about, just like snakes are right now this time of year.
They're bigger than what you think they are at clear water. Isn't that right?
The shark we saw the other day, no telling how big it really was. But you got to see that footage. I'm sure Scott can pull that maybe tomorrow of those sharks on Crab Island.
I hear stories like that, and then I hear about the crabs or the jellyfish, and I just go back and forth. Do I want a beach place or do I want a lake place? And then I say, let's get a lake place. But now the lakes are starting to be infested with alligators. So you can't win.
Yeah, I like to be able to see my feet. I like to be able to see below me. That's something to think about. I mean, when it's just that clear water, I mean, a lake, the dark water always gets me, I guess.
Yeah, you can't. A lot of days at the beach, you can see under you. And then now when I go to the beach, I go in the water, but I don't go in much higher than my waist. All right, I'm getting the signal that we are out of time. Time flies when you're having fun. I appreciate Forrest Lee coming in.
Thanks for having me.
I've still got this little cough and congestion, so I didn't have to talk as much. And come join us again tomorrow, Forrest, I hope.
All right.
And the 2 Mikes, Big Mike and Little Mike, thank y'all. And thank you
Good to see you.
And thank all our advertisers for supporting this show and Troy Cablevision. And we'll see you tomorrow on Today in LA at 7 o'clock. Have a good day.